Hello, Living Word family. We are glad that you've joined us on YouTube. We want you to be a part of this message that touches your life every day. So on behalf of Pastor Pierre, my wife and I, we are glad that you're engaged. We want you to subscribe because there's so many messages on here that you could listen to on your leisure. We are glad that we're able to serve you. But we also want you to go to our website. When you go to our website, you will find a lot more information, even the sermon outlines. And also, you can provide an opportunity for you to see a list of our materials, books that you could look at that meets your need, and you could share with other family members or friends. We could also give. As you give to Living Word, you know us. When you go to our website and you do that, we use those funds to serve the agenda of God for the glory of God, and that allows us to serve you effectively. So we're glad you're here with us. Subscribe, be a part of this, and I pray you join us again and keep involved as God so leads you so that we grow through these times and are coming out of it better than we went in. Thanks for allowing us to serve you.
What an amazing Sunday. What an amazing, amazing Sunday to highlight all the good things that God is doing. Even when you look at the children and you look at the transition, what do you see? That our church is a church that has children and youth. We are alive. And God is doing amazing things. Yeah, I always say, look at the children's ministry, you'll know the health of the church. Now, without further ado, I got a lot of explaining to do. This is like when you know you're in trouble and you're trying to get the reason up early. So I'm fixing to say something while you stand, and I'm gonna tell you where to go. Some of y'all already looked and are questioning me. So stand up for me. We're gonna read the Bible. This is in the Bible. It's there. Turn to Song of Solomon. All right. See, so far everybody's not mad at me yet. We're not going to read everything. We're going to read some things. And I'm going to explain myself later. This is when you know you're in trouble. We're going to do chapter 2. It's a little more easy to read. Starting verse 3. Just read it with me. Like an apple tree. I'm going to read it like a poem and a song. Y'all ready? Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest, so is my beloved among the young men. Somebody's already into this already. I don't have to preach this. In his shade I took great delight and sat down, and in his fruits was sweet in my taste. And he has brought me to the banquet hall, and his banner over me is love. Go to chapter 4 real quick. Some of y'all are already excited, and I know you have a lot of questions to answer before I even start. Verse 1. How beautiful you are, my darling. How beautiful you are. Your eyes are like doves behind your veil. Your hair is like a flock of goats. Get your goat hair ready. That have descended on from Mount Gilead. This is one of my favorites, y'all. Your teeth are like a flock of newly shorn ewes, which have come up from their washing. Look at this. Some of y'all washed your teeth. Now, you may be seated. I know I'm in trouble, and I don't got much time, so forgive me. But before I even begin the sermon, let me explain. And Pastor didn't pick this. This is on me. Okay? And you're like, why children and youth and why Song of Solomon? That's the first question I'm going to answer. And then I'm going to pray and we're going to get into it and then everybody's going to forget I even had to do this. 1, if our children and youth have nothing to look forward to, if they don't recognize the beauty of having attraction and we keep pushing it down as a church and tell them that attraction is not real, we failed them already. If God allowed it in the Bible, because I just read from the text, then why are we hiding it from our children? You're like, okay, Pierre, age appropriate. I get that. You notice I didn't read the rest of chapter 4. We're going to keep it age appropriate. But what I am going to say is those who are single, those who are married, that this is what our marriages should reflect. So our kids know what, watch these words, a healthy attraction looks like. But they also know what a healthy, non-worldly attraction should be like. And you're like, well, Pierre, why during Sexual Identity Month? Why when we're talking about gender identity? Why this text? And it's the most beautiful reason why. Because they were attracted to the right gender. And that's the way it's supposed to be. I know there's a lot of defenses I'm getting ready for, but there was joy in it, and that's exactly what Satan is taking away. So I'm fixing to preach boldly from the text, because we should be able to preach boldly what we should expect our kids. When my daughter or my son say, I am attracted to this individual of an opposite sex, I don't say, stop, you better not be. I say, good, but keep it in the time frame that we've given you. You can start dating when you're 36. You got 20 more years to go. All right. That's not true, but it's close, 35. So you see where I am. You know where we're going. And for my married folk, I want to ask you this hard question, and this is where I'll conclude my introduction. I know. Why are we still not here anymore? Why do we allow marriage to steal our joy? Like, why are we not enamored with the person that God has given us? For my single folk, I told you this sermon can hit everybody. What should you even be looking for? And it is healthy to have the attraction, but is it healthy enough? Is it God healthy? Or is it just attraction? So let's dive in. Everybody gonna get touched, but don't touch nobody. Let us pray. Dearly Father, we are thankful for your word that is rarely preached. And I hope that you will encourage me and give me the courage to, and be strong to, preach your word boldly. Even preaching this sermon is not a sin, but give me tact to do it in appropriate ways so that nobody is offended. God, I want to make sure this sermon is edifying and glorious to you because you wrote it and then you gave us the attraction. So I'm not going to hide the attraction, but I hope it is encouragement that we maintain it in the right parameters. God, I want to say I love you. I want to say I thank you. And I want to say, man, I am so excited about your word today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I'm going to take you back, as you know I always do. And you may not believe me, this sermon does not have to take a long time. But what I will say is something simple. How many of you remember your favorite food being cooked? Now, some of y'all have some obscure taste, and we'll talk about that later. Okay? Some of y'all like chitlins. No idea why. There's no smell that gets you encouraged to eat that. But I'm going to let you have that today. But there is certain things that happen. Now, I'll explain. How many of you remember the smell? How many of you remember the mama or the daddy who used to cook it? How many of you, when you walked in the house and you was like, you knew off the rip, this is your favorite meal? Now, I'm not talking about McDonald's and Chick-fil-A. Now, I'm talking about somebody, it was home prepared. Some of y'all don't even know. They're like, man, I don't know how many favorite meals outside of that. No. Home prepared, and the stove was like, I'm boiling, and the water was going. I mean, you knew mama was up to something. You knew from a hard day, from hard labor, from everything y'all went through in that day, something about what you knew, your taste buds started to get wet, all because you knew this was your favorite food. That's exactly what marriage should be like. When you walk into your house, there's something about seeing your wife and your husband that should make your appetite wet. There's something about the way God prepared your spouse that should make you say, whew, I cannot wait to see and to taste what God has allowed to be in my life. The issue is that some of us forgot that that was our favorite food. Oh, I'm finna say something's not rude. And some of us forgot how to cook our favorite food for the person we love. Some of us haven't been at the stove of this attraction in a long time. And then some of us have fallen for the fast food type marriage, and then we call that our favorite food. Even though it's cheap, it's not real, and it causes bodily damage. Some of us would rather have that as our favorite food than something that God has said is good. Today, I want to take you to your favorite food. I'm going to describe your favorite food. You, if you're single, don't envision nobody. If you're married, leave church early. And if you a kid, just know it's coming. Right here in chapter 2, we're going to compare Mrs. to Mr. We're going to notify the differences, but you are not going to believe in the imagery. It took me like 20 pages just to digest how different every type of song this is. Every lyric to the song got a point. So let's start with chapter 2, where the lady gets to talk. And she got something to say, but her something is totally different from his song. So let's listen to her lyrics real quick, because I can't sing like her. I wish my wife would come up here and sing it. But verse 2 kind of highlights something because he's still talking to her. Now watch this. It says in the beginning like, oh, this is her admiration for her husband. But no, in verses 1 and 2, he's still talking. And I read this beautiful thing, ladies, and I hope that you will gather this and be okay with this. In verse 1 and 2, he is still trying to convince her that she's beautiful. Hear me out. Before she starts talking, he has to say, you're beautiful, my darling. You are a lily, my darling. He keeps trying to what? Say what he's been saying in chapters 1 and chapter 2. This man has been talking for a second about what he sees in this African woman. But guess what she has to finally do? Believe him. Now, ladies, I'm finna say something to you, and I'm gonna say it nice. Man, if your husband finally tells you you're beautiful, stop telling us every flaw you see and just accept it. Like, some husbands don't stand a chance at giving you any type of song. This man came in a good mood, like, girl, you fine. No, I'm not. Girl, you look good. Not today. I don't like the way my hair turned out. Will you just accept it? I am trying to write a song. You cutting off all my lyrics. And I say that because some of us, if you're honest, the ladies, I've noticed that the world has tore you down so much that it's tore down the confidence of what your husband is trying to build. And we have allowed the world to tell us what beauty is so much that when somebody finally sees that the recipe is good, we stop believing it. And that person saying, man, this food tastes good. And you like, it's not my best. And he's like, no, but you don't understand, this food is good. I wish I would have put a little more salt. Stop. It is good. We enjoy it. We like to see it. But then she takes over. Now, ladies, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Y'all want different things. And that's okay. But what I'm fixing to break down for you is the beauty of what she says. Because fellas, I think we still think that we got to be something that the world tells us. And this is why I chose this passage, because I'm trying to break down that if men know what a woman's admiration is, we'll stop trying to be what the world has told us a man's admiration is. Rappers have told us what a men's admiration is. People have told us that you have to look like this, dress like this. We have spent so much money on what a woman doesn't even want. Oh, let's get to the apple tree, don't we? Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest. Oh, she already started spitting lyrics. But why, pay attention to the first one, why is he an apple tree and then everybody else is just a tree? Pay attention. I pray, my fellas, that when your wife or your future wife writes a song about you, and no offense, ladies, that tree is the only tree you want to eat off of. Everybody else in the forest is just a forest tree. But there's only one tree that produces fruit. See, there's an exclusivity that she's writing about. She's telling him, amongst all the trees in the forest, you're the only tree. Amongst all the other trees, you're the only tree that does something for me. But if we in this world loses the exclusivity and now we're dating who we want, be in multiple relationships at once, we have lost the fact we fell in love with the trees and we forgot that God gave you an apple tree. I'll be honest. Ladies, the exclusivity that your man feels when he knows he's the only apple tree changes the way he acts around you too. If you have undistracted devotion to your man where he thinks he is an apple tree amongst the trees, maybe he recognizes where you are in this placement. But watch what she says. Watch what she says. She says, among the trees of the forest. The first thing she's saying is, not only is it exclusivity, so is my beloved among the young men, plural. What's she saying? There's a lot of young men around, but it's only you that I see. Like if you read the whole song, you will realize that, yeah, this is a real thing. She's saying, I know there's many more people here, but there's only one young man I see. But what does this world keep throwing in front of you? This is why this youth sermon is going to fit. Because what does the world want to tell you? Oh, there's multiple people you should see. That don't focus on one when you have a whole forest you could focus on. The first worst advice after somebody gets a breakup is like, there's plenty of fish in the sea. And what you're telling that youth and child is what? I know you had your sights set, but set your sights on the fact that there's so many more other fish. And God's like, no. Allow them to have exclusive focus. Not obsession, but focus. Because what they're telling you is, I don't mind the exclusivity of the fish I caught. And the worst encouragement we give them is like, just go try the fish. Go try the trees. There's a lot of trees out here. But you don't realize that some trees ain't built for your kids. But watch what she says next. She says this. She starts to describe the tree and what she does with the tree. In his shade. Now, fellas, this is where we can talk. In his shade. That means the tree got to be big enough for her to sit under and be guarded from the sun. So you were like, Pierre, I love this exclusivity point you had. Oh, great. But that means the tree got to be, first, has to have apples on it. And this is not a spiritual point, because you're like, you can't connect these two, and I get it. If you got no fruit, she shouldn't sit under you. Number two, if you ain't got no shade, she can't feel protected by you. The whole point of sitting under you is so that you protect her from something. The whole point of being able to spread your branches, and not so you become the king of the world and make the most money in the world, is that somebody feels safe enough under your shade. So the question I have for my fellas and my ladies is, do you have a person? Should we be training our daughters not to look for the only physical attraction, but be training them to see what a shady tree looks like? Hey, we need a man who knows that he has to provide. So not only do women want safety, they want provision. We got too many bummy men out there. Too many bummy men that got dreams with no applications. And I do mean both. They got dreams and not filling out job applications. We got too many men out there saying, I'm a gamer, and I'm going to get on Twitch, and I'm going to make a lot of money. Now, for the older people in here, that's just another way of being an influencer. It's trash, but let's move on. We got too many people have no ways and avenues of provision. So when we raise our young men, we should be raising them to be trees. But trees that bear fruit, but trees that are safe under. Now you're like, well, Pierre, why would I train my kids for marriage? And I'm like, that's the lost art of parenting. If your kid desires to be married, I pray that whoever's raising the daughters of whom my son will marry will raise them in preparation for their role. My prayer is that I raise my sons to be preparation for a tree that a wife can feel safe under. So yes, parents, we bear a role in how deep these roots grow so we can have shady trees. We play a role in what it looks like for a woman to go to my son and say, I feel safe with you. You haven't taken advantage of me. You haven't sit there and so I always say, and we could talk about this a little different. You notice what she wants. And I'll be looking at some of our married couples like, you know why she's not giving herself to you is because she doesn't feel safe under you. Yeah, I got quiet. That some of us, we in marriages and we don't make our wives feel safe, so yet we wonder why they don't sit down. Because the next thing she says, she says, I sit down under here. I have made this my dwelling place. I pray Monica feels like when she comes home, it's her, not only her dwelling place, but she's safe there. Because when a woman feels safe, she's willing to give. But if we keep stripping away that safety, if we keep running away every time we get in an argument, if we keep doing the screechy tire argument thing where we get in the car, we slam the door, and we speed out the driveway to make sure she knows that we are going to be unsafe. And now, if anybody knows what I mean by that, you are younger, and I get it. Many of us have said, you know what, I'm gonna leave during this argument so you can feel the pain I have. And we have a lot of men who don't know how to solve conflicts, therefore trying to make our women feel unsafe so that they think that's going to work. But all you're doing is creating insecurities. All you're doing is creating insecurities that your wife now is he going to leave on the next argument? Should I tell him this? I can't tell him this because last time I told him this, last time I told him the truth, he left. So now you have this relationship, this marriage of unsafety, and then we're like, why isn't she giving herself to me? And I'm like, because she doesn't want to be under your tree no more. You've cut all the branches. Trees. So not only is he saying, hey, I want to feel safe, I want to be trustworthy. Is your tree trustworthy? But then it says something about these apples, right? Let's read it. Then in the shade, I took great delight and I sat down. Is she walking? Is she doing on a journey of the forest? She sits under the tree she feels safe with. So ladies, are you sitting down? Are we training in the future, not now, our children to know when to sit down? And are we in charge of helping pick the tree to help our kids know when to sit down? We have too many 18 and growns now. That's our policy. 18 and out. No. I tell my kids all the time, let me be a part of your dating life. Let me see if this is even a tree, Natalia. I don't even know. Right now, he don't even look like a tree. He looks like a bush. Like for you to sit down, you'd have to lay down all the way and like army crawl underneath this thing. Like this ain't it. But I want to be a part of selecting the tree. And I wish our church would be like that. We shouldn't be afraid of these conversations of saying, hey, baby, that ain't a tree. And a matter of fact, no offense, this man is confused. I think he thinks he's an inside plant. Move on. He says something else, and I'm going to leave this plant tree alone because this illustration is going too far. It provides fruit, protection, provision. What else we word? Safety, trustworthy. But watch another word, pleasure. This word delight does not mean that she doesn't see pleasure. This is going to be hard to say. And his fruit was sweet to my taste. So it's not that he has fruit that she looks at. She has fruit. He has fruit that she want to taste. Now, be careful. This is where I have to go like above the water. So adults, use your vision. Kids, this is about a cartoon movie. You know what we also teach? That a woman has no pleasure when they get to marriage. When in reality, you're selecting a man that brings you pleasure. And I'm not just talking about the pleasure that some of y'all are daydreaming about. I'm talking about when you walk into the house and this man's conversation brings you into pleasure. I'm talking about this man who engages you and takes you on dates and brings you pleasure. I'm also talking about the other thing we talked about last week, that the marriage bed is undefiled type pleasure. Ladies, you are allowed and should enjoy the pleasure of your man. And he should want to provide you pleasure. So we have provision, we have protection, but we also should have pleasure. I don't want to hit that point too hard. But if you ain't got no fruit, my brother, She can't taste you. I got so many more things that we'll do in a marriage session about that. But I told you I keep it PG. Ready? He has brought me to his banquet hall. I was like, what in the world? Have you noticed when we get to the man's description how different this is? He brought me into his provisions. If you know who the author is, you would know that this author has owned the wine hall. So what is she saying? He brought me into his house. House, not his mama house. Not we gonna make it. Not me and you against the world. Not, hey, when are you gonna pay some of this? Not that. He had provisions set up. So she had a place to what? Go. We got this new world where it's like, she better have a place too. She talking about me. She better have this. And I'm like, fam, that's not your job. Her job is to have the place to go. I'm not saying women shouldn't be independent and work and do what they want. I'm not saying that. Go work, do your thing. But I'm praying that you find a man that knows that one day if you choose to bear a child and God allows you to do so, there still should be the wine hall for you to go to. There still should be a place for you to rest your head because he brings you to his place. And she's saying he brought me in. But when he brought me there, even though there's multiple people in the wine hall, pay attention, watch what she says next. He brought me to the banquet hall, and the banner over me is love. Oh my gosh. She's saying in the midst of everybody else, there's only one banner over me. And that banner is what? So even though there's people there to celebrate, when I walk in the banquet hall, all he sees is me. So not only did he bring me to the house, when he brought me to the house, now I'm the only person that he sees, and he banners me with love. That means above my head is a love symbol. Don't you want that, ladies? And some ladies don't feel that no more. When you walk into a room and your husband sees you, he's the only person he sees. That he is undistracted, undevoted to who you are. That he sees you and puts his banner over you. Can I tell y'all a real good example of this? And I thank my wife for being patient with me. And I mean this. I was young in marriage, trying to be the best youth pastor I can be. I really did. And my wife, after church, I remember, like, she was like, we had 2 kids at the time. And so don't take this the wrong way. So if you see me do this now, just know where this came from. I remember I would want to talk to everybody that wanted to talk to me. You know, kids were breaking up with their boyfriends, and I was like, babe, you got to understand this situation is tough. Look at this little 12-year-old crying over his girlfriend. This is youth. This is my job. Look at this kid. He just lost the love of his life. 7th grade love is real. And Monica, all she asked me, she said, babe, I'm not asking for much. I'm just asking if you would walk me to the car and help me with all these car seats. And guess what? They can wait. They'll be there when you get back. I'm not saying don't stay and talk. I'm just making sure the banner follows me to the car. And at first, I'll be honest with you, I was trying to defend it. Baby, this is my job. This is church. I'm doing what God's called me to in the body. I am in the wine hall doing what I can. And she's like, I get that. But can the banner follow me all the way to the car? And fellas, guess what I'm saying? You can go to work. You should go to work. You got to go to work. You can eat apples. But when you come home from work, is her banner over her head? Or do you pass her in the kitchen? Do you pass her in the house? Do you pass her in the room? Or when she comes in, all you see is a banner. She knows the banner of love is over her head. And I tell you, I failed at that. I'll be honest in saying, at church, I was failing at that. I would see her, I would talk about how wonderful she was, but I wouldn't let the banner follow her. We can't substitute. Now watch these words, the banner. Fellas, we got to talk about the word adultery, infidelity, where our eyes are, where what we allow in our hearts and our eyes, because at the end of the day, we are giving too many other people, things, and websites the banner. And then you wonder why the banner looks broken. Do you know what the banner also represents? in the middle of a war, guess what they rose? A banner to say, hey, we winning this thing. And I want our kids to be able to say what? In the midst of the war, there's a banner of love over my mama. There's a banner that I've given to your mother that you can't even take away. Now, let me move further. This one's a little difficult, I'll be honest, in verse 5. It says, sustain me with raisin cakes. Look, man, I had to look all these words up. I was like, what is a raisin cake? Sustain me with raisin, refresh me with your apples, because I am love sick. I never understood this till my mom said she couldn't sleep when dad went out of town. And now my wife telling me she can't sleep when I go out of town. But the absence of the person that's supposed to be your protection, your provision, and your pleasure should make you lovesick when that person ain't there. So what she's saying is bring the substance, protection, and provisions back where it belongs. With me. In your absence, I am lovesick. But you know what happens, ladies, and I ain't mad at you. We have become less vulnerable because so many men have broken your hearts. So we're scared to be lovesick for somebody because we believe that if we give them all of us, then they'll run away with what we're sick for. And I'm telling you, find a man who's not going nowhere and will bring back the raisin cakes and bring back the apples. And it's okay to be lovesick for that individual. See, I want to teach my kids that if they find a good man, / when my boys find a good woman, it is okay to have this exclusivity that without that person, it's okay to miss them. How do you keep that purity? My dad never stopped me from loving Monica at a young age. He told me how to do it, though. He never stopped me from, when he told me I could date, and he finally allowed me to date, he never stopped me from missing her. He'd make fun of me. My brother would tear me to pieces. I'll give you one story, you can make fun of me later. I never kissed nobody before. I'm gonna be careful with this one, y'all. This is family conversation. Don't take this out, even though it's on YouTube, don't take this nowhere. I'm just joking, all right. 17 years old, I'm scared. She too fine for me, she still is. So I'm not gonna kiss her. We gonna keep our lip virginity until we get married. Too scary, y'all. But Monica was different. She saw the protection and the pleasure, you know what I'm saying? They call me Pleasure P, you know? So I'm driving this 1989 Gold Volvo, and she turned around in the car, so as a man, it's my job to roll down the window. I didn't know what she wanted. So I looked out and I was like, hey, she walks to the car and she kisses me. Whew! I still got it. But I get home and I'm eating cereal, because that's what every teenager does right when they get home. And my brother walked past me. Now, I ain't told my brother, I ain't told nobody nothing. I'm trying to keep my broken lip virginity a secret. I sinned against the Lord. My brother walks past me eating cereal, and I don't know what my face was doing. He looks, all he does is walk past me, y'all. It's not exaggeration. This is what he said. This is not exaggeration. I'm gonna act this out. I'm over here eating cereal. Paul walked past me. She kissed you, didn't she? I was like, what? What I didn't know, what I was smiling and eating cereal at the same time. They don't go together. I was like, looking creepy, just. I never knew. And I'm going to tell you this, that since that day, it's okay to miss her and love her. What happened to that, married couples? Sometimes we be begging to get away from our husband and wife. I can't wait to get out. It's ladies' day. Don't talk to me. Don't text me. I'm like, what happened? Like, why do you want to escape the person you're supposed to be sick for? We've lost that. And our kids see that. The first thing you're trying to establish in your marriage before you have kids and when you have them is making sure our kids know what it feels like to be sick without. Because we teach them what to look for. We still should be laughing when we get that kiss. We still should be eating cereal looking real creepy. We've lost it. That's why the sermon's called Still Got It. Because it's like, do you still have that? And should you be looking for that? And why do we tell everybody? We go with this guard your heart scripture. So that means all these women are walking around hard, don't want nobody to talk to them, scared to miss anybody, don't want to say anything. And I'm like, but that's the point. That is the point. Not to an idol, but that's the point. But let's finish this text of the lady. She says this: let his left hand be under my head and his right hand embrace me. You notice that she's leaving out a lot of the pleasure, the details. She just wants to feel safe. She wants to cuddle. Fellas, that's our favorite word. Can we cuddle? And when me and my wife sit on the couch, we still what? We still cuddling. My dad used to walk by in them slippers every time to make sure we wasn't cuddling. Now it's legal. I want my kids to see us cuddle. They come in the bedroom, that's my room. You gonna see us cuddle. I want your mama to know she's safe with me. I want her left hand and the right hand to feel my embrace. She should feel safe in my embrace. I love this, but this support and affection. Have you noticed these words I'm using? That's what it means. I have your support and I have your affection. Do you get that beauty? Fellas, when's the last time you supported and were affectionate without intimacy? Meaning you gave her safety, support in her dreams and her visions, support in what she wants to do, support to tell you her deepest, darkest secrets. But then also you gave her what? Affection without wanting to be used or misused. This marriage conference taught us this thing. I'm going to be careful. They color-coded what my wife would need, and I'm glad they did. I'm telling you, don't cut away too long. And she was like, they said, use purple when you just need affection. When you just want to touch with no advance. That's the PG as I can put it. And it helped our marriage because guess what we started doing? I knew she just needed my affection and my support. She needed nothing else. She didn't need pleasure P at all. Now, let's go back to this recipe real quick and go to chapter 4 with me. We're going to conclude with this summarization of a man because this is where PG needs to come in. All right. Have you noticed, I'm not going to lie, don't be mad, ladies. I'm finna say something that might be whatever. Have you noticed that when somebody tries to repeat the recipe of your favorite meal, you already know they ain't doing it right? Like, have you ever asked who's cooking it? That's important to the recipe. Because especially in our culture and multiple other cultures, it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. There is no measurements. There is no cookbook. It's that this woman or man knows what to throw in the pot. So you'll walk in and be like, what? Who cooked? Oh, man. So I say at family reunions, you'd be like, oh, you trying to let your niece cook it? And you ain't even watching her? I'm good. I'm good. And that's exactly what this man finna say. He's like, who to cook? Because only one person can cook and do that to me. There's only one person that knows the recipe to my eyes. There's only one person who should be in this kitchen, and I know exactly what she looks like. Watch what he says, but ladies, fellas, this is where it gets PG. And I'm fixing to explain. You could read it in front of me. I'm going to leave some things out. But I want to talk about this one detail that, fellas, I think we've lost. It's all about the details. He marches down from the crown of her head below in detail. I don't know if busyness, work, jobs. I feel like we don't care about the recipes no more. We just eat the food. And God's like, no. Pay attention to the recipe. Pay attention to all the facts of what she's doing. Pay attention to the fact that you came home and the house looked a certain type of way. Pay attention to the fact that she wore your favorite perfume that day. Pay attention to the fact that she made herself available to you that day. Pay attention to the fact that she is going on a date with you and she decided to dress up even though you're still wearing them same joggers. Pay attention. Because what this man's fixing to do is what every man I think has forgotten, and that is the details. See, if you lose the details, you lose the beauty. If you lose the details, guess what also you lose? The admiration. Because the world has told us to only look for body parts. That just means you're just making sure chicken's in the bowl. You're just making sure that the meat is there. And I'm like, that's not what you're looking for. But all this world teaches us, hey, make sure the meat's there. And you know what I mean by that, my PG brothers and sisters. Make sure the meat is in the right places on the plate. That's not the beauty of your wife. That's not the beauty of a woman that bore your children. And if we keep teaching our kids to stop paying attention to details and only pay attention to what a woman can buy to enhance the meat, we have missed. Watch what this man does. Hope that was PG enough. He says this, how beautiful you are, my darling. Not old lady, not Mrs. He put some admiration in her name. And I'm not saying you have to change your pet names when you get home. What I am saying is make sure your pet names resemble what you see. What I am saying is how beautiful you are. When is the last time you told your wife how beautiful she is? The intimacy starts in the morning, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that you recognize her beauty when she wake up. This ain't marriage counseling, move on. I want our kids to know that a healthy attraction to a woman is real. I want my boys to know that. So I do ask my boys, hey man, like, what you see? I ain't gonna give them too much business out because they're gonna be really ashamed if I start talking about our dinner time conversation. But I'm like, okay, I see you. I ain't gonna tell you who. One of them was like, she has the most beautiful smile. Okay, Song of Solomon. Okay, Song of Solomon. I got so many stories. All right. How beautiful you are. One of the commentaries will say this. It's not just what he sees, it's what it makes him feel. So what you're seeing in these lyrics is what? Not only what he sees, but what it makes him feel like. Watch what he says next. We're going to be fast. Your eyes are like doves behind the veil. Bottom line is that most of their body would be covered. And he's saying, I can see your eyes through your veil. That's how much paying attention I got. A veil can't stop me from looking into your eyes. Not her parts, but her eyes. I wish more fellas did this. When you talk, you're not talking to a part. You're talking to her eyes. You are looking her dead square in her eyes. If you are married, just glance. She won't catch on. Make sure she's turned away. Her hair, I don't know about this one. This one's gonna be a little off. Don't say this when you get home. It is not necessarily relevant. Your hair is like a flock of goats. Are from goats. You can change it. You can change it. You can change it. You can try. Your hair is from the most expensive place we could find. You can change it. That have descended upon Mount Gilead. I ain't gonna lie to you, I was reading. And I was just like, nobody could figure out. I was like, what does mountains and Gilead have to do together? Like they couldn't figure it out. So I'm not finna make it up. I'm just gonna say some mountains are going down and her hair was going down as well. One of my favorite parts of this, and I'm gonna keep going faster because we don't have to go down every description. He says your teeth are like a flock of newly shorn ewes. Here's the kicker. And this is what we're just going to laugh together with, and we're going to move on. This man was, He wasn't even talking about her smile according to historical research. Dentists weren't along back then. So for a woman to have all her teeth was a beautiful thing. I had to stop for this because this was just funny. Like I was reading and I was like, man, Solomon, you was really just paying attention to the details because you was like, man, you got all your teeth? Like all of them is yours? I was like, and I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I was like, man, some things in our world, guys have to ask, is all that yours? Is that? Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Which have come up from their washing, which bear twins. Now, this is the beauty of the passage. He said, not only are they white, but they have twins. So that means you have both front teeth. You have both twins. He's saying basically they match. You ain't missing one. I'm telling y'all, this was hilarious to me. Your lips are like scarlet thread. They red. Not plump. You're not worried about the size. He's worried about the fact that they're plush with what? Blood, meaning it's red. There's no lipstick. And I'm going to go down as fast as all I'm trying to get men to understand, that's okay. I want my sons to know that's okay. I want you to know that's okay to recognize a woman's beauty. But beauty is spelled B-E-A-U-T-Y, not B-O-O-T-Y. That's no PG, and for them little kids, they shouldn't be able to spell that fast with me. That's all I want to say. This world is corrupt, it's broken. That we're looking at the wrong spelling. And y'all be surprised. I know some people, I got to be careful. I just want to make sure I keep it PG, but I say, we're teaching y'all think like youth don't know this. Children don't know this. My daughter got a compliment about the wrong thing in 6th grade. She didn't even know what to do with it. So I know some of y'all like, man, I don't know if my kids can handle this. Trust me, they handling it. And some of us are teaching them the wrong thing. Let me conclude here. He goes and he says a couple more things. Your temples like pomegranates, behind your veil, your neck is like a tower of David. This one was kind of funny. Built with rows of stone. Basically, she got a long neck. Hey, look, this is what he wanted, all right? He wanted a long neck. Like I say, some people like chitlins. Like that, if that's his thing, if he wants a long neck, he get a long neck. Go look for it. Line them all up. But then he goes to this last one. I'm not going to read the rest. You read it with yourself. Verse 7. You are altogether beautiful, my darling. Watch these words. There is no blemish in you. Do you see his conclusion? Is he saying that this woman has no flaws? That's not what he's saying. He's saying to me, there's no blemish in you. When I tell my daughter she's beautiful, whether she believes me or not, there's no blemish in you. God didn't make no mistakes with you. Like the only place your wife or your future wife, if you're dating, should feel safe is in that house. We are so busy calling out every blemish that we have forgot the admiration. We have forgotten the beauty. Tell your wife, your future wife, and our kids should know how to say that a man should be able to say to a woman, I see no blemish in you. When the world sees plenty of additions and plenty of makeup purchases, multi-billion-dollar. The makeup business is multi-billion. Think about that. That women think they have so many blemishes that we will spend to fix it. When a man should tell a wife, you are beautiful just as you are. Fellas, do not wait until date night to tell her how good she looks. Tell her how good she looks in the morning without anything additions so she can recognize the blemishes she thinks she has you don't see, because all you see is her beauty. You still got it, ladies. Fellas, you still got it. Maybe. I'll tell you this last one on time in conclusion. I used to take this as not a compliment. I'm going to take you way back. My wife, then person I didn't know. So if you don't know the story, I'll be quick. I saw Monica in all of her unblemished in high school. Knew she was out of my league, y'all. I told y'all this already, so I'm going to summarize that point. Knew there was no way this guy who was wearing khaki pants in high school in the 2000s was going to grab. My dad had dressed me like I was like going to Baptist Sunday school every day. Had penny loafers. But I saw Monica in her unblemished. I remember the day she was walking past the stairs. She was new to our school. And I was just like, man, I got no shot. That's it. But then Monica finally told me the story of when she saw me. Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, before I'm gonna set this up, I thought this was not cool. I was like, baby, this does not make me feel good at all. She was sitting at lunch, and I responsibly in my khakis, with my shirt tucked in, was going to buy lunch with the money I've budgeted. I had a budget. I had trees, y'all. And I was going to buy lunch, and she said she saw me with all of her friends, and she just said, that tree, fellas, I know you're going to laugh at me on this. Ladies replied, that's a good compliment. She said, he looks like a husband and like he's going to be a good father. Stop clapping. Stop clapping, it's not funny. All my fellas know why I didn't like it. What did I want her to say? Boy, you was fine. I saw you look good. Them khakis, the way you had them starched, woo! Every fella here is agreeing with me. Nobody wants to hear you look like a good daddy. You 17 years old, you ain't supposed to look like no good daddy. Talking about a good husband. That means I look responsible. Next thing you know, she's like, you look good with a fanny pack on. No, man. I used to think that was a non-starter, non-compliment. But I realized she wasn't even wrong. What she saw was the tree. So it's okay to see the tree. And we should be teaching our kids what a tree looks like. That it ain't the dude that wants to be the next rapper. It ain't the bush. This is a tree. The younger we teach them, and it's okay because it's in the Bible. They were young men, young women talking like this. The younger we teach them of what a tree looks like and what beautiful is, the more Christian marriages we will find. But that starts with, I hate to say this, that starts with us. First service, second service, adults, admiring the woman that God's given you, calling her beautiful in front of them, taking her on dates and admiring her beauty with no blemish. And it takes the ladies to say, I feel safe under your daddy. Let's start with the real book. Because there was a man and there was a woman who were attracted to each other, and that was okay. So we're going to celebrate this today. And we're going to celebrate the fact that God created it this way.
Let us pray.
We are excited that you have joined us, and I pray this message touched your life. We pray that you enjoyed it. We pray that it impacted your heart, and we hope that you would subscribe and continue to grow with all the messages that are here. You can find a sermon outline. So we're glad you enjoyed it. Look forward to you coming back so we grow together. Thank you for blessing us and for blessing your life by allowing us to serve you.